Well, I think it's after 2:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. Wanted to start off by saying thank you all for coming. My name is David. I work for RKM Fireworks. I am a sales rep and show designer. And then, yeah, go ahead.
Hello, I'm James. I'm the show manager.
So, perfect. Yeah, go ahead, turn it up. All right. Is that better? All right. So I started in 2013. I've shot and designed shows since 2013. I am the co-host of the Pyro Unleashed podcast with Donnie Toms, which if you guys are in here in an hour, he's going to be speaking on lifts and towers. Shot over 300 shows, and I shot my first Pyro Musical in 2016. Go ahead.
My name's James. I'm the display manager at RKM Fireworks. I've been the display manager since 2020. I've worked for RKM since 2009. I've shot over 300 shows for them. My first Pyro Musical I was involved with was 2015.
That would have been what's now considered Skyward.
Skywars. It used to be Pyromania.
Yep. Who is RKM? RKM has been in business for over 30 years. RKM is a wholesaler of 1.4 articles, pyrotechnic, and 1.3. We shoot over 200 displays in Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, and Wisconsin. And yeah, that's about it, right? We're located in Edwardsburg, Michigan, and we are members of the APA, NFA, and the PGI. So just if you guys have any questions on that, we'll, yeah, go on. Table of contents. This is just kind of a quick rundown what we're going to be talking about. Where do I start with starting a Pyro Musical? We're going to be talking about scripting the Pyro Musical, selecting your music and your fireworks, creating harmony with music, fireworks, and lighting, and utilizing Finale 3D with DMX integrations, and then we'll have at least one example of execution. Where do I start? We're going to kind of walk through the preliminary steps of making a Pyro Musical reality. If you're stumped where to begin, which I'm guessing most of you are, because probably you're in here as opposed to somebody else's class, it's probably way more important. You're gonna really, we as a company, we decide to go one of two routes. You can either pick your product and design your soundtrack from your product, or we pick the soundtrack and then design and we choose product after. Honestly, my first Pyro Musical, I mean, it went okay, but it was, your first Pyro Musical is not always going to be your best. So don't be afraid to fail with doing your first.
And, depending on, if you're a company or if you're just doing this on your own in your backyard, that will really dictate basically song choice, product. Sometimes if you're hired by somebody, they will have a song that they want, you to do, or they will give you, the opportunity to choose the song. So sometimes you don't get to choose it. Sometimes it's chosen for you, and it just, depends on the situation, really.
Yeah.
This chord
is. Does anybody have any questions so far? Yes. Usually, I mean, maybe somebody has a better option. We usually get it from like Amazon Music, or we'll download the song. I don't know really I think there's a time limit on songs that you can use before it becomes a copyright. I don't know if anybody I don't know if there's any, I don't remember the time on it.
I don't know the exact time. I feel it's like 30 seconds ish. So sometimes you'll notice companies using just like 30-second clips of songs and chopping them together to kind of prevent that. So, you know, a lot of times it's all dependent on that, or you know, we'll try and find like a different version of the song that's, you know, not the original version. There's a few different ways to kind of get around that.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Or if you're a musician, then you create your own music.
Yeah.
Now, I'm kind of curious about why, like,
Yeah, that I'm not sure on.
Yeah, if you do get into any of that, then you'd have to do research and contact, you know, any like, you know, the owners for the rights of that.
sign up to ASCAP, and they have broad licenses on the side, you know,
Correct.
Yeah.
try to generate all that show by license, like that.
Correct.
And then ASCAP take care of all.
Okay. We're going to dive into the methods that RKM uses in scripting our displays. We kind of don't, I mean, there's not, I don't think there's really a right or wrong way to script a pyromusical. We feel that obviously you have to keep your audience in mind, right? But you also want to put your heart and soul into it. And if you script a song the way you want to script it, and you choose, if you have the option to pick music that you love, it's going to show more than a song that you are not really looking forward to scripting to. Typically, we actually start scripting our finale first. That allows us to kind of knock out what I would consider the big portion of the financial burden, I guess you could say, of the PyroMusical. I then typically would start with the opening, because typically your audience is going to remember either your finale and or the opening of your PyroMusical. So those are the two key points that you're going to want to do first, and then you're going to fill in the show as you feel. Scripting designs can be done in many ways. You can script to the lyrics, you can script to the music, or by letting the music speak to you and scripting as it seems fit. I know that seems kind of like a weird philosophy, but if you, you use cliches in a song and it will really kind of let the flow of the music help you design. We'll get into that a little bit more. Research what other scripters are doing for inspiration is never a bad thing. I think everybody in the pyro industry really does it. It's really not, you know, if you are like, oh, I'm going to steal this idea, everybody's doing it in the industry. Club events are great spots to see what other people are doing. Competitions, and going and watching YouTube. Anybody have any questions? I like to watch a lot. Personally, I like to watch a lot of what Malta is doing. I like to watch PIPC, which just happened. Anything from Sky Wars. A lot of Firecat 8 has a lot of his videos out that are really good. I'm just trying to think.
Really close friend of ours,
Yeah.
Tom Poe. He does a lot of videos, comes to a lot of these events, films them, films a few for us.
Yep. It's Tong Po Pyro. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Perfect. Selecting music. This is probably one of the hardest parts in bringing together a design. I will say for Saturday night's display, I think, Donnie, I don't even know, we had way more design work in the music than we did in the fireworks itself. And a lot of that really comes down to do you want a theme? Do you not want a theme? Again, crowd. If you're in a competition, maybe you're going to want to look at the demographic of the people or the judges that are in at that event. Themes will help your audience follow along and keep up with the display. Along with that, picking emotional songs will also help connect to audience. YouTube, Spotify, or Pandora are really going to be your best friends for finding the right music for your soundtrack.
Friends, I mean, a lot of you guys are here with a buddy or here with a group, feed off of each other, have a couple little powwows where you guys are, throwing songs at each other. Sometimes some of them just feel right. Sometimes they don't. We'll sit together in a group and just, sometimes you're driving down the road and you'll hear something, and I'll shoot David a text, and I don't even have to say any other words except for the song name, and he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, there's many different ways to go at it, and it always helps to have somebody else's ear to listen to it, and there could be just one small part of the song that catches your ear, and it can go from there.
Yep. Pick music you can listen to 1,000 times over. That's probably somewhat exaggerated, but it's really not, because when you're scripting, you're gonna listen to the same 5 seconds of that soundtrack for an hour back to back to back, just trying to script. So make sure that you can stay sane while you listen to that soundtrack.
And you may pick a song that you like, but spend days or hours listening to 30 billion different versions of it.
Yeah,
So
the
you find
versions can
one
go a long way.
that you like, or one that, just isn't right. So, just keep an open mind, and, work with what just sounds right to you. So
Yeah.
there's no rhyme or reason, no wrong way, no right way.
Also, going back to selecting music, keeping your audience in mind again. Different music can be used for competitions. You might use epic or dramatic music typically in a competition for like a finale. Whereas obviously you're not going to want to put, strong language or different things in like a backyard display, or especially a church display.
Right. And keeping your audience in mind is also a helpful thing, because, here as a group of pyros, we're our own worst judges, and, the audience, may not be that pyro, and they just want to hear something familiar, and that connects them to the experience. So
Yeah. If you can't imagine fireworks to a song, it might not be the right song choice. It sounds simple, but making sure that you can imagine a cake or a slice going off to certain beats is really going to help, like, emphasize different points. If you have a lot of like drum beats, maybe you want to have salutes or this, that, or the other.
words, if
words
it says fire in the song,
Yeah.
maybe cliche, but throw some fire in there. Just little things like that'll help you connect the song or the music to the product that you're using.
Oh, sorry. Anybody have any questions on that? I'm sorry, say that again.
Style that you tried that just flopped, or did you go like
Jazz.
I love country music. You can't script fireworks to it to save your life. And if somebody can, please let me know your secret.
That's not true. So
You can't. Okay, fair enough. There are some. I would say the modern country is hard to script to.
2015, we did Firecracker.
We did.
Josh Turner. So
Yeah,
that's
I will.
not 100% true.
But
But yeah, I mean, there's certain ones that, like I said earlier, sometimes if a customer requests that certain song,
you have no choice.
you got to work with it. So, even though it may not be a particular genre that you like, you you'll definitely find a way to, to put something together for them that they'll like,
Yeah.
and that you will enjoy too.
What was the other question? Um, I think it really depends on the event. If I prefer picking a theme versus just randomly picking music, I think the further along I get into scripting musicals, I think I'm just kind of I play it by whatever I'm feeling to script to that event.
Yeah.
Some events have a theme. Some events the theme is whatever I'm feeling and what sounds good to me at that point in time. Really, yeah.
Yeah, whatever helps you get through it. Actually, it's, whether it's a theme or just randomness, you know, just just go with the flow. I mean, there's a time when, we all get, quote unquote writer's block, and we'll spend a day and hours doing something, and at the end of the day, we have nothing. But, that happens.
And again, that kind of goes back to like, don't be afraid of failure. I don't even know if I consider that failure really.
No, it's not failure. I mean, it's a learning experience, and that, if that didn't work, then stay away from it.
Yeah.
So it may work for something else though.
Yeah. I would agree with that for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, but also you still want to have some type of structure so you can have a timeline to getting your project done, because you may be approached 2 or 3 weeks before an event and have a small timeline to put it together. So
Yeah. And there are, like, I will say, like, my first musical I ever did, more recently have actually contemplated on re-scripting it with 1/3 just to see what it would look like. So even with the same song, the same designer can script it completely different, I think, in different times. So
any other questions?
my first musical. Yeah. Like, you mean redo it completely or reshoot the exact same show? Yeah. All of them? Every one of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
there may be a scene that you didn't have the product available at the time, so you had to choose different product to create the scene, and then yeah, or
Right.
a few years later, you're like, man, I wish I had that shell for the scene, but it all depends if you get the opportunity to be able to do that again, doing events like this or any type of other exhibition events. You got a question?
What are your thoughts on like within the Heritage song with the audience? So really like thankful for, but
That's always the fighting argument as well.
Right.
I mean, there are songs that are probably one-offs that, like, we both want to script to,
Yeah,
but we know that it would take a certain audience to be able to see that.
Yeah. For me, if it's an event like Cobra Con where, you're doing shows for a bunch of your peers and pyros where, they're going to be watching you and judging every single thing that you have on there, then you can go a little bit more obscure, because, you'll get into like, oh, this song's been used 1 billion times. You can't be any more original. And then you'll get an event like Sky Wars, for example, or that, there's a huge public audience that they may not necessarily be pyros, and they need to feel some kind of connection to enjoy the music and the pyro at the same time. And at the end of the day, if you don't, sometimes I feel like if you don't have a familiar song, then they can be like, oh, you had that really cool show that I don't quite remember. Or you can be like, oh, you did Beyonce.
Yeah. And
That's where the connection is sometimes.
along those lines, I know every single time we've come to Cobra Con, it's kind of become our trademark to do something funny. I think the first year we
Rickrolled.
did a Rickroll last year.
The second year we
The chicken that yeah, so
the
chicken dance, yeah,
at
in 21 at
Skywars, yeah,
Skywars. So
I mean,
don't be afraid to do something funny.
yeah, have fun.
Again, like you just pointed out, like you remember that musical because of that one song. Again, I'm not saying the rest of the musical wasn't good, but it sticks out in your head just because of that one song.
Make
It'll
sure
resonate.
You continue to enjoy doing it because you know once it really becomes a job, then you don't enjoy it as much.
You become complacent, and it'll your feelings towards the musical will display. They will become adamant in your display. You'll see it in the display or in your work.
Any other questions?
Yes,
So
they have
yeah,
to be done right.
They could
I mean,
they could be handled many different ways. I mean, most of them are like, you know, song fade, song fade. Last year we did kind of an EDM thing where we tried to keep the transition smooth and continuous to where, you know, it just never stopped and the pyro never stopped.
yeah.
So there's many different ways. I mean, that's kind of back to doing a theme or something. So I mean, it could be done in that manner, or it can be done, you know, by just having a song fading into another song. So just kind of depends on how you're feeling at that time. And
I think the music choice will also dictate some of what you're wanting to do. Because obviously you're not going to want to go from fade from a fast-paced song into like, you know, a slower song.
you start kind of getting into like a beats per minute type of thing.
Yeah.
And you're trying to, you know, match the beats per minute from one song to another as you're transitioning into it, which really helps. So,
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Strobes work really well.
Flames, torches.
Flames, torches.
Um,
We've been using a lot of like fountains or gerbs, but really, I mean, you know, just keep watching videos. There's always new effects coming out that will, you know, you'll keep in the back of your head that you feel like you want to use somewhere, and eventually you'll get to use it.
Yeah.
All right.
all right. Yeah.
It all depends. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, you try to do that, but shooting so many shows, you never know what the weather is going to be, and you try and look months ahead of time or weeks ahead of time. We tried to do that last year, and it rained the entire time, and every single show shot at the same day, no matter what the weather conditions are. They just got crammed in together, and you know you can do everything you can to prepare for it, and hopefully it turns out right. But sometimes, you know, shit happens. Pardon my French.
Anybody else? All right, let's move on to selecting music. Or I'm sorry, selecting fireworks, don't mind me. Again, let the music speak to you while choosing your fireworks. Know the limitations of your shoot site will severely help determine your products. Obviously, you're not going to want to go to a backyard display and be shooting 8-inch display shells. At least I would hope not. Cliche is your friend. It'll help you connect the fireworks to your audience. Example, fireballs for flame or burn. Using a pyro script, a heart, whether that's with a letter rack or using single shot meteors to create a heart. You could even just use, obviously red torches or red peonies for heart or love. And the list of that really can go on and on.
Different colors for different moods, or
I guess probably one of the more cliche ones is like Wonderful World, right? I mean, you're going to want to use those the colors of the song to continue your eyes in mind with what you're hearing in the soundtrack. Yeah. Keeping in mind, multiple fireworks might look right when scripting a segment. A lot of effects will look right. Keeping colors with like same colors, light colors together should really help determine which one of those you should choose.
Testing is your friend.
Yeah.
Like if you're wanting to do color combinations, grab one piece of each, take a test, video it. We do it all the time just to make sure it kind of looks right. And then, we apply that moving forward.
Yep. Use larger shells or longer lasting effects for a dramatic effect. I know they have, probably a lot of us haven't seen them in a long while, but if you can get wind bells for long duration effects, I absolutely love doing that. It's waterfalls, obviously.
Leaves,
Yeah.
just things that have a little bit longer duration than,
Yep.
a second or a half a second.
Yeah. Getting into like a second or half a second, using flash pots, half second gerbs, or instant flames to emphasize quick beats are always really good. Single shots, comets, meteors, mines can be used in many uses, long runs, instant hits, crossing patterns, parabolics. And obviously, as a pyro community, we're always coming up with new and different ideas. So again, YouTube is going to be your best friend with finding new runs. I will say there was 120 some entries at least in PyroJam. I think a bulk majority of them are on YouTube. If you want ideas of things that have not been actually used, use those. There's some really cool runs in just about each and every one of those shows.
Facebook groups,
Yep.
stuff like that. I mean, this is a cliche thing to say, back to cliche, but there's no stupid questions. I mean, you may put a question on Facebook and you got 100 people that think they know everything that will kill you in the comments. But at the end of the day, pick out what you were trying to figure out and learn from all that stuff, and don't pay attention to all the other bull.
In some cases, there really is no, I would say, right fireworks selection. There can be several options for a particular spot in a design. You as the designer really should be able to determine what looks best there for you. Or, again, the crowd, your audience.
Gift supplier. That's kind of a
There you
hard
go.
subject
Yep.
with, tariffs and things, and, what you have or what budget you have to get certain items. I mean, a lot of us as pyros, we're kind of hoarders also, and we've been holding on to this case for 10 years because, we can't get it again or that price. Don't be afraid to use the stuff you've been sitting on. I mean, I know you might not be able to get it again, but when are you going to light it?
Yeah.
Or you're just going to keep on looking at it in a box. Use it.
Yeah. And never discount consumer fireworks. I know many of us are trying to push ourselves over to the pro line market, but there are really, really good consumer fireworks that can be used. There's really good effects in the consumer market. Anybody have any questions so far?
So
If I expect a cake to go long, this is something that we talked about actually last year in the class,
something that we implemented
Yeah.
also last year in our script.
and it worked wonderfully. Put a back burner on the cake about where you think it might go long.
Yeah, so if you say you need it to be 30 seconds, put another cue in there at like the 25 to 27 second mark, and you poke your last row, and it'll hit that last row and work its way back, and they'll meet together, and it'll almost ensure that cake stops when you need it to stop. So you'll add, so say you have a 30-second cake that you want, the duration's supposed to be 30 seconds, you add the cue to start the cake, and then at the 25-second mark, to 27-second mark, you add another cue and you punch that last row and put an E match there. So it'll hit it right there, and then it'll hit the last row and work its way back and meet. And then it'll indefinitely stop it, especially if the cake is taking too long, and it'll shorten the run of the cake just in case. I mean, if the cake performs perfectly, great, but if not, that's kind of
It's an added sense of security. And
Exactly.
I mean, sure, an E-match might be $1, but you know, you put all this time and money and effort into this,
Into
it's another
time.
$1. Like, yeah. You, yeah.
right.
Actually, if you look in Finale 3D now, under generic effects, there is a cue called backlight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can just label, you know, edit the name for that particular cue, what effect you're putting that backlight onto.
Any other questions? We'll go with Steve.
So, is there, if you have PyroMusical,
We
city shows for
we currently don't do that. I mean, it's kind of a custom thing. depending
Product
on what you're
availability
wanting.
really has a lot to do with a show. So we don't typically do like what you would consider like a prepackaged PyroMusical.
Yeah, cookie cutter type of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. You had a question?
Just a follow-up. So you explained how the cake has longer time frame. What did it
Good question. Sometimes, just like that, there's a little bit of silence. Next question.
Silence can be your friend too. So don't feel like you always have to have fireworks breaking or in the sky all the time. You can use fireworks or silence as an effect. So yeah. Yes.
To get over that, so I'd have a slice of back up or gel as a background, so that sort of it doesn't fit the script.
You could do that. Yeah, that's a very good option.
Also with Cobra, you can hit the step button, it'll move over to the next.
But if you're shooting a PyroMusical, maybe you wouldn't want to step that next cue.
All depending.
But with all the fire, it doesn't interfere with the script at all. So I always
Okay.
Yeah.
just to fill those gaps, help me out thousands of times.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, very
There
good.
you go.
It's a very good option. Do you have an exact science to how many like effects extra you'll take? Like, do you take an extra, say, slice per minute of musical?
It's just about filling that gap, just keeping something going in the air whilst that firework is fading. And I normally have a shell rack set up at 2.5 inches. And I just constantly just pick one up every now and then just to keep something going, so it's not got a massive gap.
Yeah, perfect. That's a really good idea. Yeah. You mean in between a song, or you mean for songs? Yeah. So she's asking if there's a gap, or what's the suggested limit in a gap between songs. I typically try and do. I like to do 2 seconds. I know some. It's like if I'm playing a song that I feel like is really dramatic and I think is going to get more of a clap or a response from the crowd, maybe I'll actually put 3 or 4 seconds in there, just to allow the cheering to kind of die down before the next song starts. To answer your question on a gap for not having pyro in a song, I don't really know if there's a real answer. I think it's really all in the music that you're doing. And again, that kind of goes back to letting the music kind of speak to you and kind of walk you through what to do or what it wants you to do. Yeah, you bet. Yeah.
Consumer fire. You all did a good job.
Yeah.
Any other benefits?
It's a good question. We have been pondering this for a while, and not yet. Have you ever seen like the Cracker Barrels? Essentially, you light the fuse and it just like burns down to absolutely nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
That's something that we've been kind of contemplating on doing. But again, there's a lot of variable in that burn rate. So that's kind of been the what's been deterring us from trying to do something like that.
We've also been playing a lot with consumer fountains.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got some of them that are a decent duration, or in the NFA show, there's a fountain that kind of opens up and spins. So just, familiarizing yourself with some of the more novelty stuff. Sometimes if it's really ornate looking, you may be able to find a cool way to use it. But I mean, really, the little helicopter thing, it just kind of fit right for the song we felt then, and we use it. We didn't expect, that they would love it that much, and it, after it happened, everybody was like, "Whoa, what was that?" So we're like, "There you go." So
Yeah.
you may stumble on it, and
Have you ever seen any scale?
I know it has been done. I don't know exactly how it was done. I believe they used metal cages and they lit it somehow with Emax from the bottom. The execution, I'm not exactly sure on how to do. I have thought about doing something where you have something falling and rising at the same time. Yeah.
also we've tethered them to tiki torches.
Oh, yeah.
They'll just sit there and float and glow the whole time until it burns out. Little things like that.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Perfect.
No? And if it does, it'll float away.
Just an added higher effect.
Yeah. Write a message to loved ones.
All right, creating harmony with music, fireworks, and lighting. I'm going to say this: apply repetition with fireworks throughout your musical to create unison. Think about going to a comedy bit. They're going to follow back on a joke, even though it might not connect. It's still what we would consider an effect to go full circle and kind of answer back. Call back, there you go. Using like effects in a segment or even throughout the whole song will add harmony. Again, back to themes. Themes in music will also help keep a harmonious pyromusical. Color schemes will also join all of your mediums together. Red, white, and blue, for example, obviously very patriotic. Rainbow, using a lot of crackle. Brocade in blue or purple. Solid colors, gold and green. Using a color wheel. Even if you're colorblind, none of this really actually matters. You can ask AJ. He's one of our colorblind designers, and he creates absolutely fantastic displays.
Or going back to kind of the customer, or if it's, you're doing something for a loved one, a birthday or whatever, asking them what their favorite colors are and using that. So sometimes you'll get the request like the bride's favorite colors are this and that. So
using school colors.
School colors if you're doing football games, stuff like that.
I will say integration of fireworks, music, and now lighting is starting to become tricky, and I know that there are mixed emotions within the pyro community with adding lighting and now even starting to add drones into the pyro world. I think that's partially due to scripters having a closed mind on how fireworks should be used. As a designer and being younger in the designing world, I would ask to open your mind to it because, yeah, we're really new into all of these mediums coming together, and I think there's a lot of options down the road with everything working together.
It's a, DMX using stage lighting and stuff, especially nowadays with, everything being about cost, that one light, will blink a few times and it doesn't cost any more as opposed to each product that you have to ignite and light off. So that definitely will help with budgets.
Yeah, your initial cost will be up there, but down the road, it will eventually pay for itself and not buying, flames or torches or strobes or things of that nature. Use the lighting, again, to accent the fireworks, sometimes together, sometimes separate. Again, that kind of goes back to whatever the mood of the music is. That'll kind of determine how to put your lighting. Lighting works well in slower portions of music, faster areas where strobes can be used in transitions, and much more. I think our whole finale last year was red strobe, and we just had DMX lighting, and we just used red strobing. And
I think we might have had one seizure, but okay.
Anybody have any questions?
Wheel Tuesday. What about color wheel?
Yep.
When you gonna get them?
Us get color wheels?
Yeah. Y'all didn't have any 13.
Oh, like the color. I'm sorry, I wasn't following. Yeah. I don't know if they're on the water or not.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, if it left before
But
yesterday, it'd be all right.
keep an eye on rkmfireworks.net, and as they come in, we'll update the website. That's what we like.
Feels like you get an email every day, right?
So you're the guy.
Go ahead.
So you talked about combination fireworks and sound, obviously, and these other things, but I'm thinking about fireworks and the effects that you use, like order and other
Yep.
things. How do you bring that type of effects in with, like, have certain things you like to like on with that, or is it
You mean like the launch of the firework? I don't know. I know it can be done. I will say I don't typically do that. I don't typically try and have the launch of a shell be a cue point,
So we actually did that last
but we
year at
did do it
PGI.
at PGI.
So we had some 8-inch shells with rising effects, 8s and 7s, and we tried to use the rising effects to go with it with the beat of the song. And the timing of that comes down to just the manufacturer and how well they manufacture the items. When you get into that, buying a more quality built item will definitely help with that. But then, using single shots to help you with that, to combine, if you hit a mine at the same time with the launch of a shell to kind of accent or hide the audible of the shell launching. If it's more of a quiet, somber portion of the song. So there's many different ways to handle that. But really it's, sometimes it comes down to the quality of the product.
And there will be variables too. I mean, you got to be due diligent to do your research on even down to an E-match pre-fire time, right?
Yeah.
That can really range depending on the manufacturer of the E-match.
And where you set your E-match, if you set it in the lift, say if you're doing a 1-3 show and there's an E-match port on the end of the black match as opposed to at the bottom, or if you're that really conscientious of wanting your timing tight, you poke a hole and stick the E-match right into the lift, and you'll get it a little bit more instant. But really test, like I said earlier, if you have an area to do it, or if you have a pyro club that you go to, get a few things, test them, test timing, test combinations. At the end of the day, that'll help you with what you're trying to achieve.
Good.
Your use of lights that place the string. And if you are using
Cobra. All the lighting that I've used to date has been the Cobra par lights. What I will say that I was not as happy about with last year's display is we got a lot of complaint that they were actually too bright. And so if you can find a way to
Filters
to put over the light, putting them like facing straight up with like a white dome or something along those
We
lines.
used barrels last year.
We did use barrels.
There are like thin film filters that you can put over that you can buy, but also firmware. I mean, if you caught the keynote speech this morning, they're constantly working on updating the capabilities of the firmware, and some of the new stuff that they were talking about today is will really help. I mean, we could have done that entire DMX script with 136M last year instead of using 2, if we would have had the capabilities that they're gonna be launching here soon.
Yep.
So and that if you guys watched it closely, there was like, maybe you guys didn't notice it, but we noticed that they were slightly off because we were using 2 different universes. So if we would have had it all on one universe, it would have been a little bit smoother. So
Yeah. I do think that issue has been resolved.
Yeah.
Though, but
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Perfect. Utilizing Finale 3D with DMX integrations. Again, using DMX to your advantage while scripting in Cobra Show Creator and in Finale 3D. DMX comes in many mediums, from lighting, flame machines, fog machines, cryo, and much more. Again, knowing your limitations of the DMX while scripting to create a cohesive look and feel in your design. Really, that kind of boils back down to knowing how bright your lights are and the distance you are from your crowd, so you can be able to dim those down. And again, DMX is really not for every pyro or event. I mean, in every pyro event. So, yeah, that's about it on that one.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions on that? Non-lighting DMX, flame. Yeah, very much so. Fire. Yeah. Close second. Third would be lasers. Very.
Rest in peace, the rapper. DMX. There you go.
So, yep. Anybody else? All right. Examples of application. We've done quite a few. Even these are just in the last, really 4 years. Yeah, we've done Skywars 21. We did the public display with the chicken dance. We did Cobra Con 22 Dominator display. That was the April Fool's / Rickroll. Cobra Con 23. We shot Chuang Mei's demo, which today you would better know them as Pyromax. They are in the trade show. Also in 23, we also shot Dominator's display. Following back to 22, there was an overused song, Van Halen Jump, and we decided to, again, bring that back to 23 and start the event out right. 23 at NFA, we had the Dominator and Red Apple National Anthem. In Skywars 23, I was a Pro Division competitor. In 24, Cobra Con 24, we did the National Anthem again for Dominator. And then we also had the closing display with DMX. We also did PGI's Sunday evening displays, use of drones. And then at NFA last year, we had the Chongmei display. And that would have been one of the, I would say personally, one of the better displays that I would say I've scripted. If you go onto YouTube, you'll see it opens up, or well, not, it doesn't open up, but it was one of the better ones with the smoke scene at night. Yeah. So. All right, perfect. Well, it looks like we have about 5 minutes. So thank you guys for coming. Do you
Guys,
have
have any other questions?
any other
before we
questions?
go?
Sorry. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to kind of give you an example of
We do a indoor show every New Year's in Grand Rapids, and we're just gonna, play the script that we designed for it. And if anybody has any interest in indoor pyro, it's a lot different than outdoor pyro. You've got ceilings and a crowd really close to you, so you've got to use a different type of pyro than buying stuff from the store. So
Yep.
just remember, we don't want another, what is it, white snake, burn the place down. So this is our script from our indoor shoot.
as you can see, we had some positions in the rafters, and then we had 5 positions on the ice. And hopefully this audio plays. I didn't test it, so.
Let's make tonight the weekend. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. Got no reason not to celebrate. Baby, I just don't wanna wait. Swimming in the deep blue got me thinking about you. I'm just trying to dive right in. Wanna spend tonight like the last night of our lives, chasing all the love we can. And now, oh, I'm in a sea of lights, and all that I can see is you. And now I'm dying to feel alive. So baby, let's try something new. Let's make tonight the weekend. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. Got no reason not to celebrate. Baby, I just don't wanna wait. Tonight's the weekend. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. Got no reason not to celebrate. Baby, I just don't wanna wait. I've been chasing so long, every right that feels wrong. Rather be with you instead. There's something about it right here, got me seeing so clear. Rainbow colored skies ahead. Now, oh, I'm in a sea of lights, and all that I can see is you. And now I'm dying to feel alive. So baby, let's try something new. Let's make tonight the weekend. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. Got no reason not to celebrate. Baby, I just don't wanna wait. Tonight's the weekend. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. Got no reason not to celebrate. Baby, I just don't wanna wait. Let's make tonight the weekend. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. Got no reason not to celebrate. Baby, I just don't wanna wait.
What use was that?
321. Everything was 20 or 18 millimeter.
Yeah, 15 to 20 millimeters, 40 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we were really limited more by the scoreboard that's up. The rafters were at 90 feet. So we had some falls and then a lot of air bursts. So, yep.
We used Next Effects.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.